You ever been in a place where it just doesn't make sense? Where the pain's loud, but the purpose is quiet? Where you're doing everything you know how to do, grinding, praying, pushing, and still nothing's moving? Listen to me. I know you're tired. I know you're frustrated. I know you've cried behind closed doors, in your car, in the shower, wherever nobody could hear you. I know because I've been there. But I need you to hear me right now. Process it with God. You keep trying to process it with people who weren't there when you broke. You keep venting to folks who don't got the vision, who don't carry the calling, who ain't felt the weight of what you're carrying. But let me ask you, did they give you the dream? Did they speak the purpose into you? Did they save you from that moment when you almost gave up? No, God did. So why are you trying to process a God level burden on a human level frequency? Listen, I'm not saying people can't support you, can't encourage you, but they can't carry what was designed for you and God to carry together. You were never meant to process this season alone, but you weren't meant to process it with just anyone either. You see, there's some stuff God allows to break you, not to bury you, but to build you. He's stretching your character, your faith, your endurance, but he's not doing it to punish you. He's doing it to prepare you. You've been praying for elevation, but you don't want to go through transformation. You want the crown, but you don't want the cross. Nah, it don't work like that. You got to process it in the presence before you walk in the promise. God said, bring it to me, all of it, the anger, the confusion, the heartbreak, the fear, the doubt. Don't dress it up. Don't make it cute. Just bring it. Because when you process it with God, he gives you clarity. When you process it with God, he gives you strength. When you process it with God, he gives you peace that doesn't make sense, power that doesn't run out, and a purpose that'll outlive you. So stop running to broken people trying to get fixed. Stop posting for validation when your validation is already stamped in heaven. Stop praying small prayers when you serve a big God. I'm telling you, if you want real change, process it with God. You want to heal? Process it with God. You want to grow? Process it with God. You want to win? Process it with God. Because when you come out on the other side, you won't just be stronger, you'll be wiser, bolder, more dangerous to the enemy. You will be unstoppable. But only if you stop trying to carry what was never yours to carry alone. So next time the weight feels too heavy, don't quit, don't fold. Take a breath, drop to your knees and say, God, this is too big for me, but it ain't too big for you. Process it with me. And then stand up, wipe your face, and walk like it's already done, because it is. You keep running to people expecting answers they were never qualified to give. You keep calling friends, scrolling social media, listening to voices that never built you, never saved you, never even saw the full vision God gave you. And then you wonder why you still feel stuck, confused, and heavy. It's because you're trying to process God-sized problems with human-sized minds. You're trying to make sense of a spiritual storm using natural logic. You're expecting peace from people who don't even have it for themselves. You're asking for directions from people who've never been where you're going. See, there's a weight that comes with destiny, a pressure that's custom built for the calling on your life. And not everybody's built to handle that weight, not even the ones who love you. It's not because they don't care, it's because they're not equipped. They weren't there when God whispered purpose into your spirit. They didn't cry with you in the dark. They didn't see the battles you fought in silence. So why do you expect them to have the blueprint? Some of you are carrying dreams that are so big, so divine, so specific that only God can help you manage the process. Only he understands the root of your pain, the weight of your assignment, the magnitude of your breakthrough. But you're still trying to explain your vision to people who don't have the capacity to comprehend it. You're speaking a heavenly language to people who only know the world. That's like handing blueprints for a skyscraper to a bricklayer and asking him to design the whole building. He can't do it, not because he's not skilled in his area, but because he wasn't called to that level of construction. Some of the anxiety you're feeling right now isn't because you're weak. It's because you've been trying to force understanding where God called you to have faith. You're trying to fix it with strategy when God said, come to me first. You've been so quick to talk to a friend, a mentor, a counselor, but you skipped the throne room. You've been processing everything horizontally when the answers are vertical. You've been doing it backwards, and backwards will break you. Let me say it plain. There are things you're walking through right now that won't make sense until you process them with God, because He sees what you can't see. He hears what you don't hear. He knows what's ahead, not just what's behind. The people around you, they love you, but they only know what you tell them. They don't know what God is trying to build through you. They don't know the testing that's designed to strengthen your spirit, not break your back. Sometimes God puts you in a situation where nobody gets it on purpose because He wants you to come to Him, not because He's distant, not because He's punishing you, but because He wants to build relationship. He wants you to stop outsourcing divine wisdom to earthly minds. He wants you to stop diluting your faith with too many opinions, because every time you run to 5 people before you pray, you invite 5 different directions into something that only needed one. And let's be honest, some of the confusion you're experiencing isn't because God hasn't answered. It's because too many people are speaking, too many voices, too much noise. And when you've got that many frequencies competing in your head, the voice of God gets drowned out, not because He's silent, but because you've turned the volume up on everything else. You've made your phone, your counselor, your feed, your guide, your emotions, your compass. But God didn't say follow feelings. He said follow Him. You can't afford to keep processing supernatural purpose in a natural context. That kind of vision needs divine covering. That kind of healing needs the healer, not just a hype man. That kind of breakthrough needs prayer, fasting, time in His presence, not just a pep talk. You've got to stop thinking that every hard moment is a sign of failure. Some of that pain is proof that you're on the path. Some of that pressure is training, and nobody sees all that when they look at your surface. But God, He sees the whole you, and He knows exactly what you need to get to the next level. So when the weight feels unbearable and you feel like breaking, maybe you're not meant to carry it by yourself. Maybe the reason you haven't gotten the answer you need is because you haven't gone to the only one who has it. Stop trying to process trauma, fear, insecurity, loss, grief, identity, purpose, all of it through conversations that leave God out. You're over here breaking down when you should be bowing down. You're stuck in overthinking when you should be in prayer. It's not that God doesn't want to speak. It's that He's waiting for you to bring it to Him. Bring Him your confusion. Bring Him your frustration. Bring Him the stuff you don't even know how to explain in words. You don't need to perform for Him. You don't need the perfect prayer. You just need to be real, because He already knows. He just wants you to invite Him into the process. Not at the end, not after you've tried everything else, but first. That's how things shift. Not when you figure it out, but when you surrender it. When you say, God, I don't get it, but I trust You. I don't see the full picture, but I know You do. That's not weakness. That's power. That's alignment. That's wisdom. That's the beginning of supernatural clarity. And you've been praying for clarity, haven't you? You've been asking for direction, for peace, for confirmation. But clarity doesn't come from chaos. It comes from connection to the source, connection to the only one who created you with the end in mind. You've been stuck in analysis paralysis when all God wanted was your yes, a quiet place, an honest heart, a moment where it's just you and Him. That's where things break off. That's where healing begins. That's where strength rises. That's where strategy is born. You're not weak for needing God. You're wise for knowing you do. You don't need to explain your vision to everyone. You just need to stay close to the one who gave it. Because when you process it with God, you stop living for approval. You stop doubting the call. You stop chasing temporary fixes for eternal problems. You stop folding under pressure and start rising in power. You start walking like someone who knows they're chosen, even when it doesn't make sense, especially when it doesn't make sense, because you've got something the world can't give and can't take away. Pain is not always the enemy. Pain is not always the signal to quit, to retreat, or to assume something has gone wrong. Sometimes pain is the announcement that God is doing deep work inside of you, that he's stretching, molding, refining you into the person required for the next level. You've been asking for elevation, but you're fighting the pressure that comes with preparation. You want the reward, but you resist the resistance. You crave the crown, but you avoid the process that comes with the cross. There are seasons where the pain is not punishment, it's preparation. God doesn't waste anything, especially not your suffering. Every tear you've cried, every betrayal you've endured, every door that slammed in your face was part of a training ground. But if you don't shift your mindset, you'll see pain as a curse instead of what it really is, a classroom. And the lesson isn't always comfortable, but it's critical. You keep asking God to take the pressure off, but God is saying, no, the pressure is producing power. It's producing endurance. It's producing patience. It's producing the kind of character that can sustain what you've been praying for. Because what good is it to reach the next level if you crumble the moment you get there? What good is elevation without foundation? Pain is the chisel in the hand of the master. He's not breaking you down to leave you broken. He's carving you out for purpose. When an athlete trains for the championship, the process is grueling. Their body is sore. Their mind is exhausted. But they don't interpret the pain as failure. They interpret it as progress. Every rep, every mile, every drop of sweat, it's all part of the build. And if that's true in the natural, how much more in the spiritual? Some of you are in a season of spiritual conditioning. You're being pushed past your comfort zone, and it hurts, but it's necessary. The problem is we want comfort and growth at the same time, but that's not how it works. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. One will always choke the other. You can't pray for new levels and then complain when old patterns have to die. You can't ask for expansion and expect to stay the same. The pain you feel is the death of who you were, because God is calling forth who you're meant to be. But that transition isn't easy. It's messy, it's painful, it's frustrating, but it's fruitful. Think about the olive. It has to be crushed to release oil. Grapes must be pressed to become wine. Even diamonds are formed under extreme pressure. You say you want to be anointed, then get ready for the crushing. You want to be used, then prepare for the pressing. You want to shine, then embrace the pressure. Because nothing of great value is produced without pain. It's part of the process. And it's not working against you, it's working for you. Some of the most powerful people you know didn't get there because life was easy. They got there because they kept walking through fire and didn't give up. They learned how to praise through the pain, how to push through the pressure, how to trust God even when nothing made sense. You think they're strong because they were born that way? No, they were made strong in the wilderness, in the valley, in the midnight hours when nobody else saw them but God. And you want that kind of strength, but you don't want the struggle that forges it. You keep praying for God to make you unshakable, but the only way to become unshakable is to get shaken and not break. You have to go through the thing and not let it destroy you. You have to feel the weight and still show up. That's what builds the spiritual muscle you need for what's ahead. That's preparation. And preparation is often painful, but pain has a purpose. It forces you to depend on God in ways you never have before. It exposes the weak spots. It brings to the surface what needs to be healed, dealt with, and surrendered. You may not see it right now, but pain is revealing your potential. It's exposing what you're really made of. Because when everything's good, it's easy to fake strength. But when life hits hard, that's when the truth comes out. Do you really trust God, or was it just lip service? Can you worship when the doors are closing? Can you stand firm when the ground beneath you is shaking? Can you still speak faith when everything around you screams fear? That's what the pain is testing. Not just your endurance, but your foundation. God is more interested in developing your roots than showing off your branches. He's not just trying to make you look blessed. He's trying to make you blessed. That means he has to prepare you for what he's promised you. He has to strip away what can't go with you into the next season. That stripping, that pruning, it hurts, but it's love, it's protection, it's alignment, because God would rather break your heart in the short term than let your destiny collapse in the long term. He's thinking generationally, eternally. And that kind of vision requires a level of preparation that your feelings won't always understand. We live in a culture that wants everything instantly. We want healing overnight, success overnight, purpose with no pressure, destiny with no delay. But that's not how God works. He builds slowly, intentionally, deeply. He's not just blessing you, he's forming you. He's not just giving you a platform, he's giving you stability. So when the storm comes, and it will, you don't fall. You don't break. You bend, but you bounce back because you were built in the fire, formed in the furnace, and now nothing can shake you because the pain already prepared you. There are some things you only learn when everything's falling apart. There are levels of prayer you only reach when you're desperate. There are parts of God's character you only discover in suffering. You learn he's a healer when you're broken. You learn he's a provider when you're lacking. You learn he's peace when your world is in chaos. And once you learn that in the dark, no one can take it from you in the light. That's why pain is preparation, because it teaches you what comfort never could. So next time it hurts, don't assume it's all going wrong. Maybe it's going right. Maybe God is answering the prayer you forgot you prayed. Maybe he's building the strength you'll need 5 years from now. Maybe he's making sure your faith isn't shallow, so when the blessings come, you don't idolize them. Maybe he's anchoring your identity so deeply in him that nothing and no one can shake it, because he's not just interested in where, he's interested in who you're becoming. And the you he sees, that version requires fire, pressure, resistance, refinement, preparation, and yes, pain. God doesn't want your performance. He wants your presence. He's not asking you to come cleaned up, polished, perfectly composed. He's asking you to come real, come raw, come broken if you have to, but come honest. The problem is too many of us have learned how to perform in prayer. We say the right words, quote the right verses, put on the holy voice, but our hearts are still guarded, still blocked, still hiding. We come to God wearing a mask as if he doesn't see past it, as if he doesn't already know what we're feeling, what we're thinking, what we're afraid to say out loud. We treat God like people. We bring him the version of us we think is acceptable instead of the version that's actually true. We hide the anger, the doubt, the disappointment, the confusion, like he can't handle it, like he'll walk away if he sees the mess. But God is not intimidated by your truth. He's not shocked by your struggle. He's not turned off by your tears. He's not surprised when you don't have it all together. That's exactly when he wants you to come to him. When you don't have the words, when you don't have the strength, when you don't even know what to pray. There's a difference between religious routine and relationship. In religion, you feel pressure to perform. You feel like if you don't say it right, it won't count. If you don't feel strong, you shouldn't come at all. But relationship says, come anyway. Cry if you need to. Sit in silence if that's all you can do. Yell, ask questions, wrestle with it. Just don't shut down. Don't walk away. Don't pretend, because God doesn't heal what you won't reveal. He doesn't transform what you won't bring to him. And when you only bring the edited version of yourself, you're asking him to bless what isn't even real. Some of you are trying to process deep emotional trauma through surface level prayers. You're trying to overcome depression with thank you, Jesus, and then you rush out the door. You're trying to break generational curses with 3 minutes of quiet time and no real engagement. You're asking God for answers, but not giving him your honesty. That's not how this works. If you want deep healing, you need deep connection. That means showing up to prayer with your guard down. That means saying things like, God, I'm mad. God, I'm scared. God, I feel like you didn't come through. Not because you're being disrespectful, but because you're being real. You can't heal if you keep pretending you're fine. You can't grow if you keep covering up the places that need light. You keep trying to control the narrative, to look strong, to seem faithful, but all the while you're breaking down inside. And God is saying, let me in, not into the version of you that the world sees, the real you, the messy one, the anxious one, the one who's questioning everything right now, because he can work with that. He can move in honesty. He can meet you in the vulnerability. That's where the shift happens. Look at the people God used the most. They weren't perfect. They weren't polished. They weren't always composed. David cried out in the wilderness, raw and emotional. Jeremiah said he wanted to quit. Job cursed the day he was born. Even Jesus in the garden said, if it's possible, take this cup from me. That wasn't weakness. That was honesty. And heaven didn't run from that kind of honesty. It responded to it, because when you give God your truth, he gives you his peace. When you give him your pain, he gives you perspective. When you surrender the mask, he starts the miracle. You weren't designed to carry all this by yourself. You weren't meant to walk around acting like everything's fine when it's not. That's not strength, that's survival. And God didn't call you to survive. He called you to live. But real life, abundant life, starts with real surrender, not scripted, not rehearsed, just real. If you're tired, say you're tired. If you're confused, say you're confused. If you feel like giving up, tell him that. He already knows anyway. You're not protecting him by staying silent. You're just prolonging your own breakthrough. And I get it. Maybe you've been taught that faith means you always have to be positive, that you always have to declare victory even when you feel defeated, that you always have to act like you're strong even when you're falling apart. But that's not faith. That's denial. Real faith doesn't deny the pain. It invites God into it. It says, Lord, I'm hurting, but I'm here. I don't understand, but I trust you. I don't like what's happening, but I'm not going to process this alone. When you give God the real version of your heart, that's when intimacy starts. That's when transformation becomes possible. Not when you quote the right verse, but when you say, God, this verse sounds good, but I'm struggling to believe it today. That's when God says, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Because he's not trying to impress you with religion. He's trying to connect with you through relationship, and relationship requires honesty. Some of the most powerful moments you'll ever have with God won't be in church. They'll be in your car, your closet, your kitchen, wherever you finally decide to get real, wherever you finally let go of the image and just say, here I am. Because God meets you at the level of your authenticity. He's not looking for perfection. He's looking for permission. He's looking for that open door, that access point where he can say, now that you've given me this, I can work with it. I can heal it. I can speak to it. Stop thinking you have to fix yourself before you can talk to God. That's backwards. You go to him because you're broken. You process it with him because you don't have it figured out. You cry with him, wrestle with him, sit with him, be silent with him. Whatever you do, just do it with him, because healing doesn't come through isolation. It comes through connection. And that connection starts the moment you get real. You don't have to rehearse your pain before you release it. You don't have to sanitize your struggle. You just have to bring it. Bring the depression. Bring the anxiety. Bring the fear. Bring the addiction. Bring the guilt. Bring the shame. Bring the numbness. Even if your prayer is just, God, I don't know what to say. That's enough. He hears the unspoken cries. He sees the tears that never fall. He knows the weight you're carrying, and he's just waiting for you to say, here it is. Because once you bring it to him raw, that's when he begins to shape it. Once you put it in his hands, that's when he begins to mold it. Once you stop pretending, that's when the process becomes powerful. Because God doesn't anoint the version of you you're faking. He anoints the one that's real. The one who limps but keeps walking, the one who doubts but keeps praying, the one who's tired but keeps showing up. That's the one God uses. That's the one he empowers. That's the one he speaks to. There will be seasons in your life when God is silent, and it will feel like the silence is louder than any voice you've ever heard. It will feel like the heavens are closed, like your prayers are bouncing off the ceiling, like you're walking through fog and can't see 2 feet ahead of you. And in those moments, the enemy will try to convince you that God's silence is absence, that because you can't hear him, he's not there. That because you don't feel him, he's forgotten you. That because things aren't moving, nothing is happening. But the silence of God is never empty. It's intentional. Silence is part of the process. Silence is where faith is forged. Anyone can believe when the answers are coming, when the doors are opening, when the signs are everywhere. But real faith is tested in the silence. Real trust is developed when you're walking blind, when you're obeying without confirmation, when you're moving forward even though you haven't heard a word. That's where God finds out if you're following him for the outcome or for the relationship. If you're just in it for the blessing, or if you're in it for him, because silence separates the casual from the committed. Some of the most powerful moves of God are preceded by silence. Think about a seed. When it's planted, it disappears. It goes underground. No light, no noise, no applause. It looks like nothing's happening. But in that darkness, in that stillness, something is forming. Roots are taking hold. Foundations are being set. And if you dig it up too soon, you'll destroy what's developing. That's how it is with you. You feel buried, but you're being planted. You feel forgotten, but God is working underground, behind the scenes, in the silence. And when the time is right, it will break through. But we panic in the silence because we crave control. We want updates. We want details. We want the play-by-play. But God doesn't always give us that. Sometimes he just gives us a word and then goes silent. He gives us a promise and then puts us in a waiting room. And that waiting room, that space between revelation and manifestation, it's uncomfortable. It tests your patience. It tests your motives. It tests your discipline. But it also builds your spiritual muscles in ways nothing else can. Silence exposes where your trust really lies. Because when God isn't saying anything new, will you still stand on what he already said? When the voice fades, will your faith remain? That's where maturity kicks in. That's where you stop depending on feelings and start walking by faith. Because your emotions will lie to you. They'll tell you God left. They'll tell you to quit. They'll tell you to take matters into your own hands. But faith says, even when I don't hear him, I'll still trust him. Even when I don't see a way, I know he's still making one. And it's in that tension that God often reveals more of you to you. You start to see where you've placed your security. You start to see what idols still exist in your heart. You start to see if you've made the blessing your God instead of letting God be your everything. Silence is like a mirror. It reflects what's really going on inside. Because when the music stops and the noise fades, what are you left with? Who are you when there's no platform, no spotlight, no response? Sometimes God goes silent, not because he's angry, but because he's allowing you to grow up, because you don't need to be spoon-fed anymore, because he's already given you enough instruction to take the next step. And he's watching to see, will you be obedient with what you've already heard? Will you steward what you already have? Or are you just waiting to be entertained, to feel good, to get another emotional high? Silence also trains your spiritual ears. It forces you to lean in, to get quiet, to listen differently, to shut out the distractions and tune in to the still, small voice. We're so used to noise that we don't know how to be still. But stillness is sacred. It's in the stillness that clarity comes, that peace shows up, that hidden things are revealed. You don't need more noise. You need discernment. And sometimes the silence is what sharpens your discernment like nothing else can. Look at Jesus. Before he launched his public ministry, he went into the wilderness. 40 days, no crowds, no miracles, no movement, just him, silence, and the enemy trying to tempt him out of position. The wilderness was quiet, but it was critical. That's where he got solid in his identity. That's where he resisted the lies. That's where he anchored himself in truth. And that's where you have to do the same in your wilderness, in your silence, in your waiting. Don't mistake silence for abandonment. Just because it's quiet doesn't mean God's not present. Sometimes the teacher is silent during the test, not because they've left, but because they already taught the lesson. And now it's your turn to walk it out, to apply what you know, to lean on what you've learned. The silence is a space to prove that your foundation is real, that you're not just echoing someone else's faith, but you've got your own. There are things God can only speak to you in silence, because in the noise, you'd miss it. In the chaos, you'd rush past it. In the crowd, you'd second guess it. But in the silence, you hear the whisper, you feel the nudge, you recognize the shift. That's why the enemy fights to keep your life full of distractions, because he knows that silence is dangerous to him, because in silence, you hear the strategies of heaven. In silence, you regain your authority. In silence, you remember who you are. The silence is not to hurt you, it's to stabilize you, it's to root you, it's to stretch you. You've been asking for clarity, but clarity often comes through chaos followed by silence. You've been praying for next level, but next level requires next level discipline, next level trust, next level maturity. That means trusting God even when he's not speaking in the way you expected. That means holding the line when there's no confirmation. That means remembering the last word he gave you and walking in it until he speaks again. When God is silent, it's not a void, it's a signal. It's a holy pause. It's a divine setup. You're not forgotten. You're not off track. You're just in the quiet room where God does his deepest work, where the soil of your soul gets broken up so new seeds can be planted, where your ears get tuned to heaven again, where your dependence shifts from results to relationship, from outcomes to obedience, from noise to knowing. Your song. So don't despise the silence. Don't rush the process. Don't let fear interpret the stillness. Silence might be the very thing that saves you from a mistake, that protects you from a wrong turn, that anchors you before a storm. What feels like nothing happening might be everything changing. But you won't see it if you keep trying to fill the silence with distractions. If you keep needing noise to feel safe, let the silence do its work. Let it purify your motives. Let it prune your plans. Let it prepare your heart to carry what's coming. When you begin to take your relationship with God seriously, when you decide that you want to live with purpose, everything starts to shift. You'll find that the call to go higher, to become better, to achieve more comes with a price. It's not a price that everyone is willing to pay, but it is a price that is necessary for the growth that you seek. There are moments where it feels like you've reached a plateau, a point where you're working harder than ever, yet nothing seems to be moving. The temptation is to stop, to question why things aren't changing, and to wonder whether you're on the right path. But that's the point where you have to remember that not everything that's happening is visible. Not everything that's working is happening on the surface. The most significant progress happens in the unseen places. You see, we live in a world where we've been taught to expect instant results. We've been conditioned to believe that if we work hard enough, we should see the results immediately. If we pray, the answer should come quickly. If we give, the blessing should be right around the corner. But that's not how it works with God. God doesn't operate on our timetable, and his plan for our lives isn't bound by our sense of urgency. The process is just as important as the destination, and the delay doesn't mean denial. Often it's in those waiting periods where the most powerful transformations are happening. What you need to realize is that when things aren't moving the way you expect them to, it's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that God is doing something deep within you. We're all guilty of looking at our external circumstances and evaluating our success based on what we can see with our eyes. We measure how far we've come by the material things, the achievements, the titles. But God is more concerned about who you're becoming on the inside than what you're accomplishing on the outside. The delay is part of the process of transformation. It's in those moments of stillness and apparent stagnation where God is breaking you down so that he can build you back up. You can't rush the process. No one can. The strength you desire, the resilience you want, the character you pray for, all of it requires time. It requires commitment, patience, and most importantly, it requires trust. Trust in the process. Trust that God knows exactly what he's doing, even when it doesn't feel like it. And trust that what he is building in you right now is far greater than anything you could have built for yourself. There's something about the waiting that refines you. There's something about being in that uncomfortable space where you're not yet where you want to be, but you're not where you used to be either. It's a season that stretches you, that forces you to lean into faith even when you can't see the outcome. It's in the waiting that you learn to depend on God for everything. It's in the waiting that you discover the depth of your own character. In those moments of uncertainty, your real self comes to the surface. The person you are when everything's stripped away. It's where you find out if you really trust God or if you've just been going through the motions. It's in those moments that you find out if you're truly living for his purpose or if you've been living for your own. The world tells you to take shortcuts, to hustle, to grind, to figure it out on your own, to do whatever it takes to make it. But God's way is different. God's way isn't about doing more. It's about being more. It's about becoming the person who can handle the weight of the blessings he has for you. It's about becoming someone whose character can sustain the elevation he's preparing you for. And that doesn't happen overnight. That happens through process, through setbacks, through moments when you feel like giving up, but choose to keep going anyway. The hardest part is the waiting, but it's also the most important part because that's when you build endurance. That's when you strengthen your spirit. That's when you learn to press on, even when you don't feel like it. It's easy to be faithful when things are going well, but it takes real courage and commitment to keep moving forward when it feels like nothing is happening. But that's when your faith becomes real. That's when it's tested. And that's when you start to see the fruit of all the unseen work God has been doing inside of you. When you understand that growth takes time, you stop rushing. You stop trying to force things into place. You stop trying to make things happen on your own. Instead, you start to embrace the process. You start to trust that God knows what he's doing and that his timing is perfect even when you don't understand it. You stop comparing yourself to others and their journeys because you realize that everyone's process is what's right for someone else may not be right for you. And that's okay. God's plan for you is unique to you, and he will take you through exactly what you need to go through to become who. It's in the moments when you feel the most stretched, when you feel like you're about to break, that God is doing his deepest work in you. It's in those moments that he's shaping you, he's refining you, he's preparing you. You might not see it yet, but the challenges you're facing now are preparing you for something greater. Every struggle is building your capacity for something bigger, something better. It's making you stronger, it's making you wiser, it's making you more resilient. And as you wait, don't waste the time. This isn't a season for passivity. This is a season to build yourself up. This is the time to grow in your faith. This is the time to get closer to God, to dig deeper in your spiritual life, to become the person you need to be for what's ahead. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see immediate results. But don't allow the delay to steal your progress. Use this time wisely. Focus on becoming the person God has called you to be, and the rest will follow. Your purpose will unfold in due time. You see, the process isn't easy, but it's essential. It's what shapes you. It's what prepares you, and it's what brings you to the place where you can step into the promises God has for you with the strength and the character to carry them. So when you're in the waiting, don't look at it as a setback. Look at it as a setup. It's the setup for what's coming. It's the setup for what God is about to do in your life. And when it happens, when you finally step into your destiny, you'll look back and see that the waiting wasn't wasted. It was all part of God's perfect plan. And you'll know that you were prepared, equipped, and ready for everything He had in store for you. There will be moments when the pressure you feel seems unbearable. It feels like every part of your life is being tested, stretched, and pulled in different directions. You wake up every day with the weight of the world on your shoulders, questioning how much longer you can keep going, how much more you can take. The challenges you face may come from every angle: personal struggles, financial problems, relational issues, emotional burdens, and they seem to multiply in ways that feel overwhelming. The temptation is to collapse under the weight, to give up, to say enough is enough. But there is something you need to understand. The pressure you feel, the tension, the stress, it's not here to destroy you, it's here to develop you. It's easy to think that challenges are a sign that something is wrong, that you've messed up, or that God isn't with you. But the truth is, challenges and pressure are often indicators that something great is being birthed inside of you. When the pressure increases, it's because the potential inside of you is about to break through to the surface. Every great thing in life requires pressure. Think about diamonds. They are formed under intense pressure. What was once just a rough stone, unrefined and ordinary, is transformed into something precious and valuable because it was placed under pressure. The key is to stop seeing the pressure as a punishment and start seeing it as a process. God never promised that life would be easy. In fact, He promised us that there would be trials, that there would be challenges, and that there would be hardships. But He also promised that He would never leave us, that He would always provide what we need to endure, and that every challenge would have a purpose. And that purpose is often to shape you, refine you, and make you more like the person He has created you to be. Pressure forces growth. It pushes you out of your comfort zone and into new levels of strength, resilience, and character. It teaches you how to fight, how to persevere, and how to lean on God in ways that you never would have if things were easy. One of the biggest mistakes we make when we're under pressure is thinking that we should be able to handle it all on our own. We think that if we're strong enough, if we're smart enough, if we just work harder, we'll be able to fix everything ourselves. But the truth is, we weren't designed to carry the weight of the world by ourselves. We were designed to lean on God, to trust in His wisdom, His strength, and His guidance. And when you're under pressure, it's not a time to isolate yourself. It's a time to lean in. Lean into God's word. Lean into prayer. Lean into your community of believers. Lean into the strength and support that God has provided for you. You don't have to do it alone. And when you stop trying to do it alone, you'll find that the weight of the pressure becomes more bearable. Another important aspect of dealing with pressure is understanding that it doesn't last forever. The pressure you're feeling right now is temporary. It may feel like it's never going to end, like it's going to crush you, but this moment is not your permanent reality. Life moves in seasons, and just as seasons change in nature, so do the seasons in your life. You won't always feel the way you do right now. The storm will pass. The pressure will ease, the breakthrough will come. But the key to getting through the pressure is to keep moving forward, to keep trusting God even when it doesn't make sense. You may not see the light at the end of the tunnel yet, but that doesn't mean it's not coming. You might be asking, why do I have to go through this? Why does life have to be so difficult? It's a valid question, and one that many of us ask when we're in the middle of our struggles. But sometimes the greatest things in life come through adversity. The best athletes are made through hours of grueling training, sweat, and sacrifice. The strongest people are made through the challenges they've faced and overcome. The same is true for your life. The pressure you face is preparing you for what's ahead. It's preparing you for the life you're called to lead, for the impact you're meant to make, and for the person you're meant to become. Think about some of the greatest leaders, influencers, and change makers in history. Their success wasn't born from ease. It wasn't born from comfort. It was born from trials, struggles, and overcoming tremendous pressure. They learned how to use their pain as fuel for their purpose. They didn't let the pressure break them. They allowed it to mold them into something stronger. The same is true for you. The pressure you're facing right now is refining you. It's sharpening you. It's teaching you how to handle the weight of what's to come. The problem is, many of us get discouraged when we feel pressure because we're focused on the wrong things. We're focused on the discomfort, on the struggle, on how hard it is to keep going. But God is focused on what's happening beneath the surface. He's focused on what's being built in you. He's focused on your character. He's focused on your endurance. He's focused on your faith. It's easy to look at what's happening on the outside and think that things are falling apart, but sometimes things have to fall apart before they can be put together the way they're meant to be. God is taking everything that seems chaotic and using it to build something beautiful inside of you. When you feel like you can't take any more, when you feel like you're at the breaking point, remember that you are closer than you think to your breakthrough. The pressure you're feeling is a sign that you're about to step into something greater. You're about to break through to a new level. It's the final push before the transformation. And while you're in that moment, remember that God is right there with you, strengthening you, guiding you, and carrying you through. You may not feel strong, but He is strong for you. You may not have all the answers, but He has the wisdom you need. You may feel like you're on your own, but you are never alone. God is with you in the pressure and the struggle and in the storm. The pressure you're feeling is not here to destroy you. It's here to develop you. It's here to shape you into the person you are meant to be. It's here to prepare you for the life you're meant to live. And when you come through the other side, you'll be stronger, wiser, and more equipped to handle everything that God has in store for you. You'll look back at the pressure you faced and see that it wasn't a setback, it was a setup. A setup for your breakthrough, for your victory, for the future that God has promised you. And when you step into that future, you'll understand that everything you went through was worth it, because the pressure was not your enemy, it was your trainer. And now you are ready for what lies ahead.